Hello. Now I'm going to show you how to join two sides. You see I already have two mints joined together. They've been joined. One side was joined right there. See how they make a peak? So this is one side, two sides. So this is when you do a two-sided join. And it will go together just like this, to where the red goes with the white. It's matched up like this. And you'll see on the mint that I just crocheted, I've done a trim around four sides. Around this side, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 sides that I've done the trim on. So now I'm going to connect, and you connect wrong sides together, but this is easy to do, so you just lift this up. And I have a slip stitch on my hook from the red stripe right before I get to the fourth side. I've done slip stitch, chain 3, slip stitch, chain 3, and slip stitch in the third space. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to go over to see where the V is. And in the chain 3 space, right before the red, can you see that? This chain 3 space, right there, right before the red, I'm going to insert my hook, slip stitch through chain 1. I'm going to go back to mint number 1, the one that I'm working on. See how there's 3 spaces? I'm going to insert my hook, slip stitch, chain 1. I'm going to go back over to the mint I'm joining to, the first chain 3, right there. See, there's a chain 3, there's a chain 3, there's a chain 3. I'm going to insert my hook through the first chain 3 space, slip stitch, chain 1. So we're acting really like we did when we were just doing a one-sided join. Chain 1, slip stitch, chain 1, slip stitch, chain 1, chain 3 space, slip stitch, chain 1. Now I'm going to the red. Slip stitch, chain 1, over to the white, the first chain 3, slip stitch, chain 1, slip stitch, chain 1, slip stitch, chain 1, that's the second chain 3, slip stitch, chain 1. Now here is where it can get tricky. The trick is just making sure you do it the very same way each time. You can either go in this stitch and do chain 1, and then come back here and then go over to insert it in the first chain 3 space on the red, or you can do it there, as long as you do it consistent with each mint. Now I will tell you a trick, and I've just started doing this in 2020 because I like the way it finishes better, and this is not in your instructions. So what I like to do now is oh no, I'm in the red, so I'm going over to this side. So I just inserted and did the slip stitch, chain 1 in my third space on my red. Now I'm going to join it in the corner right there. So I like to go in the first one, bring up a loop, go in the second space there, bring up a loop. So it's really a single crochet 2 together, chain 1. Now I go back to the first mint, slip stitch, chain 1, so the first space in the white. Then I go over to the first space in the red, slip stitch, chain 1, back to the white, slip stitch, chain 1, to the red, slip stitch, chain 1, the white, slip stitch, chain 1, the red, slip stitch, chain 1. Now I'm on the last stripe of the red of the mint I just finished crocheting. Slip stitch, chain 1. And I've got 3 white spaces, so slip stitch, chain 1, back to the red, slip stitch, chain 1, back to the white, slip stitch, chain 1, back to the red, slip stitch, chain 1, the white, slip stitch, chain 1, and then back to my original. Remember, you make the slip stitch into your first white when you're starting around back at the beginning. I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into there, and then I'll finish off, and here's what it will look like. And in here is where I did the single crochet 2 together. You don't have to, you can just go into one place or the other and then connect your reds and your whites. And there will probably be a tiny little hole there if you do that, but the hole will match these, so it looks good. But it's really just your preference.